Hi there, I'm Eric Woodweaver Sjerven, Goalie of the Redgar Folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to the Raven's Call. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, and it's just kind of whatever pops to my mind at the time. If you guys like these videos, please hit like down below. It really helps get the channel out there for other people to see. The more likes you have, the more it gets out there, and the more it pops up in other people's feeds. So please interact with the videos, hit subscribe, ding the bell if you like it. If not, let me know. I'll work with that as I can. So anyway, today's subject is going to be one that is a request, and I'm going to straight up shout out. This actually came from a conversation I had with Brandon. You guys hear me mention him frequently on the channel because he's the cat that's always walking on the fence, and he and I talk routinely. So hey Brandon, how you doing, man? This is a conversation that he and I had started up on the another couple of days ago, and I think it was a couple days ago. Anyway, time gets a little sometimes. The gist is that this particular conversation is something he and I have talked about because we both come from what I would call blended families, at least at one point in time or another. What I mean by this is that I'm very much a heathen, and he's very much what he is. And my ex-wife and his current wife come from different cultures. And so we exist in a family of blended cultures. Now, last week I talked a little bit in my individual hearth culture video about kind of how things work when heathenry is the predominant aesthetic and the predominant culture of the house. It's a little bit different when you're having to mix and mesh with somebody who maybe doesn't get heathenry completely, or somebody whose worldview is very, very different. And so this is something that it's a touchy subject in a lot of ways as far as how to get into, because you watch the hearth culture video, you understand that I view the household as sacrosanct. I'm not going to tell somebody how to do what they need to do in their home. Not my hall, not my call. The very essence of my favorite saying in the world, not my hall, not my call, is that the sanctity of the home is inviolable. I will not impose my will upon, I cannot impose my will upon the inner boundaries of your hearthstead. I can't do that. I'm not going to try because I know I can't succeed. What happens in your hearthstead is your call, okay? So, and that being said, I'm not going to sit here and tell people how to this is what you've got to do to make it work, or it's not going to work, or whatever. I'm not going to tell you guys that. I just want to talk a little bit about some of my experiences and some of the experiences of some people that I've talked to, and kind of get conversations going, because this is something where the community is going to be important, because you guys are going to need to help kind of feed each other and support one another in a lot of ways. Because here's the deal, guys. Those of you that come from blended households know it's not always easy. Sometimes it's downright difficult. Sometimes it's flat out impossible. It depends entirely upon the culture of the individual with whom you are sharing space and time. Now, for instance, if you come from a household where one of the members is very strongly heathen, one's very devoutly Christian, there's a fundamental disconnect here that makes things very, very, very difficult. Because and depending entirely upon the denomination of Christian that they are, they may have, the church in their ear talking all the time and applying guilt and all this other stuff to them, that they need to convert you because that's part of Christianity. Is you have to, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but certain denominations, it is their mission to go out and convert the masses. So different people approach it differently and with different severity. And as such, you can sometimes find yourself in a house with someone who's a bit more aggressive about it. And you can find that their aggressiveness level changes over time too, directly in correlation to the pressure that they are getting from their own individual church. They're in Garth, as far as pressure from them on this individual through applied guilt to try and convert you. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal in the household with a significant other who's trying to convert you? I don't have an answer for you guys. I wish I did. That's not a simple thing. In a lot of cases, it flat out doesn't work, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's a fundamental disrespect that's occurring here. There's a failure to respect, especially if you are respecting them by honoring their need to go to church and honoring the ties they have to their culture, honoring the friends that they have, and you are respectful of that and supportive of that, and then they try to convert you and they're not reciprocating that respect, well, then you've got a fundamental issue with the relationship, and communication is going to be the only thing that works that out, and it either is going to work out or it's going to not work in the end. I can't tell you, and I'm not going to go out on a limb and try and generalize or anything like that. It varies. I can tell you that one of the attempts that I have made in the past to work an alternate religion in with my own heathenry failed. It did not work out because there were some fundamental disconnects between her particular religious faith, which I'm not going to call out because I don't want to put my ex on blast and everything on the channel. That's not what this is about. So I'm not trying to give any kind of identifying information. Just know that she wasn't Christian. She was of a different faith, and this one had some superficial commonalities and yet some very deep-seated differences. And it just didn't work out. Now, I know people that make it work. Typically speaking, the ones that I see work more often than not are the ones where they blend general neo-paganry with heathenry, because we are at least somewhat similar, or the ones that blend Druidism with heathenry. Those I can see work more frequently than someone who is in a religion that's diametrically opposed to heathenry. I see a more difficult time, but it is not impossible, because the key element, and here's the one thing that I'm going to tell you, the key element is reciprocal respect. You have to respect one another's faiths and respect that this individual that you want in your life, this is a piece of them. If you want this person in your life, then you have to respect the fact that they come with their baggage, they come with their belief structure. And you have to love them because of everything that they are, not in spite of it. If you love them in spite of it, then you're fooling yourself. If you love them because of it all, you're accepting of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to engage in practicing. You have to be respectful of it. You have to be able to be supportive of them. You have to be able to, not talk crap about their faith or individuals of their faith, because you know one, you love one, and you want that one to be in your life. Therefore, they can't all be bad. You have to have a respect for them that extends at least somewhat to their individual culture, their immediate culture, their innengath. And so, reciprocation of respect is extremely important, because what you're doing, and again, I'm going to fall back to this, is the social contract aspect. You've engaged in a relationship wherein you've established a social contract, and one of the tenets of that social contract has to be mutual respect. Otherwise, it is not an equal contract and is doomed to failure. You've got to balance the scales, or else things are not going to work out. Because if the scales are unbalanced, then one person's personality gets kind of subverted underneath the more dominant person's personality, and they do not get to express themselves, and they begin to choke out and kind of spiritually die because they're not getting to feed that aspect of their spirit. I know that hits home for some of you guys. A lot of you people have probably experienced this. I know quite a few people who have directly experienced this in their lives. So reciprocal respect is important. You have to expect it, but you have to offer it too. All right? None of this, you should respect me for who I am, blah, 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 and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I expect you to participate, blah, blah. And then when she turns around, or he turns around and expects you to come to their church function, if you've demanded that they come and sit with you and stumble and bloat, and you don't go to church with them, you need to do some thinking. Not saying that, you should go to church, but I'm telling you that if they don't voluntarily come to bloat, you should respect some of that, because it is their own individual beliefs. And so talk it out, figure out what's going to work, because it's a thing. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to find a common ground. Otherwise, what are you doing? So, and then comes one of the more difficult situations when it comes to this whole thing. Kids. What do you do about kids? When you come from a blended household. And again, communication is the key. You have to communicate. Now, I don't have kids, so I'm not going to go too deeply into the, how to heathen parent, because no parent is going to listen to a non-parent, no matter how many degrees in psychology they may have. Not going to listen to a non-parent about how to parent. It's a thing. You got to be in the club for the club to listen to you. So, rolling my sleeves up just because it's driving me nuts and it's hot in this office. So, I get it, guys. You're not going to listen to me because I don't have kids. So, it's fine. But I am going to say this as far as interpersonal relationships go. The kids are common ground, and you have to come up together with an agreement on how you're going to do this. And the only way you can do that is to communicate. You have to sit down and decide just how important it is that the kids be brought up in, with what elements of your culture and to what elements of blending are you okay with. And you have to be honest with yourself, people. That's the big thing. I know a lot of people who settle into relationships that they don't have any business settling into, simply to be in a relationship, kind of trying to force the deal. And they lie to themselves about relationships to try and make it work. Been there, done that. And so you end up trying to force something to meld and to work that's not working, and it's not, under the guise of, well, I need to, be blended, I need to help with this, that, or the other, I need to find this common ground. You aren't honest with yourself about fundamental things that just aren't going to work for you, that are a deal breaker for you. And it's a hard thing because nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to be that person that says, sometimes you've just got to admit that it's not going to work and step away, because it's a bummer, it's a downer. Nobody wants to be the one to say that. Not to mention there's the whole liability. You can't look at somebody and say, hey, you should break up with your significant other. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you, you need to be honest with yourself about what you need in life and pursue it. I understand a lot of people have ended up in relationships that they have no business being in because they're not there wholly. They're not committed wholly. So, because there's some fundamental disconnects that they just can't deal with. Not being honest with themselves. So, you have to be honest with yourself. Because if you really want this person in your life, then it's about this person. It's not about their religion. It's not about their belief structure. It's not about their individual culture, anything like that. It's about them. It's about that person. And it is about wanting them in your life. And you have to decide for yourself, honestly, what is it worth to you to have that person in your life? Now, we've talked before on the soul elements about, soul partners, things like that, where I feel like people may have soul elements in common, ties to weird through the soul elements that will draw one another to each other. Real matches, real partners that really work, that's a special thing, and it deserves a lot of work, and it deserves a lot of effort. And for somebody who really does compliment you that much, common basic respect is just the bare minimum of what you can expect. You have to respect them for where they're at. And I emphasize a lot on, you've got to respect them because you don't have any control over them. You don't. We are our deeds. And if you want this person to be in your life, then you have to prove yourself worthy of their affection, worthy of their attention, by being a person they want to be around, by being someone they wish to mix weird with. Because this is the person you are mixing more weird with than anyone else in the world. And so you have to make sure this is a person you really want to mix that weird with. and be honest with yourself about what you need out of the relationship for it to work long term, and respect them from where they're coming from. You can't, just because you're heathen and they're not, you can't expect them to fall in line with your heathenry. It doesn't work that way. You can't expect them to convert. You can't love them in spite of their faith and their belief structure. The whole in spite of thing doesn't work. Doesn't. You have to want this person in your life because of who they are, because of what they are, and everything that comes with that, because they are informed by their culture. They are developed by their culture. Now, if they're trying to shun that and find something new and they seek you out, well then I would say, yeah, absolutely cool. If they find that part of you, that heathenry aspect of you to be fascinating, then yeah, of course, help them along, teach them all that stuff. Cool, because they're accepting a piece of you, and they may be discovering something about themselves in the process. Respect the fact that at some point in time, it's about them and it's not about you. It's not necessarily about the relationship in some of those instances. It's about their own personal growth as a heathen. At least it will be if they're growing as a heathen. It may start out because of the relationship, but there will come a point where they are growing because of the heathenry, or they're going to find that, they chased heathenry because of this person, this man or this woman, and it didn't resonate with them. It didn't fit, and so they run back to their parent culture, even if it's for a short time, and they come back, whatever. You have to respect that. You have to meet them where they're at, because the only thing that you have any control over are your own behaviors. So that's the thing. Now, when it comes to like holidays and stuff like that, compromise is a thing. I talk a lot about time on the tree, self-sacrifice for learning the runes. Odin hung for 9 nights on Yggdrasil, sacrificed himself to himself, pierced by his spear. He took no bread, he took no mead. He looked down into the darkness and took up the runes, wailing. Through pain, through sacrifice, he gained greater knowledge, wisdom, and betterment. So, and this is something that's better for his tribe as a whole, not necessarily just himself. So as such, you have to sometimes make some sacrifices. Sometimes you got to go to that family shindig you really don't want to go to. Sometimes you have to go to that Christian funeral, even though you're heathen. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, in order to make it work. Because we don't live in a world that's purely heathen. We live in a world that is of blended cultures across the board. Now, that's not to say that you need to dumb down your heathenry, and that you need to engage in syncretism and change your heathenry to incorporate their faith or their... No. Your heathenry is your heathenry. You do you. You just have to make sure that you can coexist alongside theirs without trying to override one another. Because honestly, if they're trying to overly influence your heathenry, they're not respecting you the way that you would be respecting them. There's a failure to reciprocate, a betrayal of that engagement in that. It's not really the gift cycle, but it's in that societal reciprocal responsibility of respect. So that's kind of the key element there. Any base relationship is all about respect. And if you don't respect one another, then there's no relationship. So we talked about kids as far as how to bring them up. We talked about, sometimes you're going to make some sacrifices when it comes to holidays and things like that. Yeah, you want to go and do the big heathen thing, but you got to meet them where they're at too. If you want them to be a part of your world, you've got to be a part of their world. A lot of you guys already know this, because guys do it all the time, and women do it too. Guys don't always realize that women do it, because they just kind of roll along with what we do in a lot of instances, and we don't necessarily see that they don't want to go along or that they're not on board with, because we don't necessarily slow down and pay attention. A lot of times we're excited and we're gung-ho when we go. Women do the same thing. It's not a gender-specific thing. It's an individual personality kind of thing, but there's a lot of us that do drive a little too hard. I do it myself, and without slowing down to go, hey, wait, does she really want to be at this? Is she comfortable in this? Should I give her an out so that she doesn't necessarily have to go to this if she's feeling a little too introverted that day? That kind of thing. And that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way, and I'm still working on that, because nobody's perfect. So, and that's whether it's blended or not. That's just straight up two people getting together. You've got to be on the same page, communication wise and mutual respect wise. Got to keep that going. So that's a thing. That's respect. That's not necessarily about blended cultures. One of the things that I had that I've looked at a lot over time is the fact that counseling in general is a wonderful thing for couples that need to work through issues. It's difficult because counselors are brought up in either the secular world or they're brought up in a Judeo-Christian based world. And this influences their therapy. A lot of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, a lot of trauma-based stuff. A lot of this is based on approaches that don't necessarily jive with heathenry as a whole. I work in the field and I've got some issues with some of the tools that are broadly used because I feel like they're ineffective and I feel like they have negative effects as opposed to the purely positive effects that we intend for them to have. But again, I'm a heathen coming at it from a different view. I've done the marriage counseling thing, guys, and I can tell you, it is difficult to do when they don't get heathenry. So if you're having problems at home, blending the two cultures, it definitely helps to talk to somebody. Just understand that you will probably have to do some educating yourself of this individual so that they can begin to understand your culture, because they're going to understand the other more broadly accepted culture just because of exposure more often than not, unless of course your significant other is something unless you both come from cultures which the therapist is inexperienced with, at which point in time it's probably not the therapist for you, unless they're just really, really good and learn these cultures very, very fast. They're going to spend more time trying to figure you guys out and may miss gentle nuances that are actually extremely important, thinking that they've got it when they don't have it. It varies. But yeah, seeing a therapist as a heathen in today's day and age is extremely difficult because I just don't know of any heathen therapists. I don't. And to be quite honest, I've gone a different path in my career, which indicates that I will not be doing that myself. So, I'd love to see some heathen therapists pop up, but I'm kind of going at things a different path myself. And so even I'm not a solution to that particular problem. You can do some heathen counseling from a spiritual standpoint, kind of the like a church counseling. Pardon me. But, again, it's not like LPC kind of stuff. And it gets kind of dodgy on the whole liability aspect, ethics and whatnot. So, I would say utilize your social structures, your Enengath, your support systems, the other heathens that you talk to, and things like that. But keep in mind, not everybody's advice is great, all right? If you are talking to somebody who can't hold down a steady relationship because they're constantly getting in fights and breaking up with these people, they may not be the one to talk to about the general issues of making it work with your significant other. Partially because if you are looking to make it work, then they haven't figured that out yet. So they haven't found the person to make it work with yet. So there's no indicator there that they should be the one you go to for that. And don't get me wrong, wisdom is wisdom regardless of its source. Egel's Saga. So they may actually have that tidbit of information, that tidbit of knowledge that you have. But keep in mind, you're going at things from different points in your life. And so they may not see what you need to see. So talk to your whole circle. Get everybody involved and figure things out. And I'm not saying go out and share all your personal business with everybody. Please, you got to respect the household. And part of respecting your significant other is not going out there and putting their personal business on blast with everybody. Okay? Trusted individuals that you are sharing your issues with, yes. But don't put all of their negative stuff on blast either. All of their personal stuff, because that's disrespectful to them. This needs to be something where it's only the nearest and dearest you trust, and you maintain appropriate boundaries with that respect, so as not to betray that trust, as it were. It's different case by case basis. Every case is different. So anyway, long story all the way around is that yes, a blended family can work. Yes, you can mix heathenry with other religions, with other cultures. It is difficult. I'm not going to lie. Because our cultures, the way we go at things, is its own kind of thing. It's not like Christianity, where a Baptist and a Catholic may be able to make it work out. I say maybe because, wow, Baptist and a Catholic. Whew. I've seen some. In East Texas, you will see some, because we have both here. So you could make that feasibly work, ostensibly, because of some commonalities within the culture. And then they just simply break on the differences. The problem that we run into with heathenry is that the commonalities with other faiths are fewer and further between than those other faiths would believe, because they want to superimpose and think, oh, we've got tons in common, and then they want to superimpose their worldview on yours without slowing down and actually looking at yours and respecting that. They think, oh, I've got a blah, 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 blah. This is like this, and this is like this. And it's like, no, stop. It is and it's not. There are some gentle nuances here that you're not picking up on, and you're not. So it can lead to issues. It can. Been there, done that personally. It can lead to issues where you think the other person gets you and gets it, and then they don't. And so it's a thing. Neither here nor there. But anyway, communicate, build your circles, and understand that everything's about mutual respect, and it's about wanting to have that person in your life, and understanding that you have to compromise and develop a hearth culture that reflects both of you. We both have to have presence in the hearth with your specific cultures to make it work. Otherwise, one of you is running roughshod over the other, and it's not respectful. It's also not healthy. So there must be some commonality. You have to acknowledge one another and acknowledge one another's worth. If I could get therapists to understand the concept of worth, that would go a long way towards helping relationships, because there's so much that is, as far as interrelational therapy, could be rewritten with a good, strong understanding of worth and the way that consequence system works. But anyway, neither here nor there. Yes, it can work, guys. It's not perfect. Nothing is. We're not perfect. And for those of you that are able to go, heathen with heathen relationship, cool, awesome. Love it for you guys. That's awesome. Because it means, a much simpler household as far as the hearth culture goes. But for the rest of you guys out there that are facing the fact that there's just not that many single heathens in your age group in your area, and even the ones that aren't right, I get it. It can work. You can find somebody that does make it work. You can raise kids together, and you can find commonality for the kids. The big thing is to eventually set the stage so that the kids can choose themselves as they get to adults. Make sure they're well informed on both sides with some of the fundamentals on both sides. Unless, of course, you make the decision early on to raise the kids within one of the worldviews. But if you do that, then respect that. You've made a decision, you've made an agreement, kind of thing. At least coming from me over here without kids. So don't put too much stock in that. So yeah, this is a weird topic, guys. One that Brandon and I kind of went back and forth a little bit on, and I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of all the different elements and aspects and specifics. Some of them I can't go into without delving too deeply into personal subjects that I don't want to do on YouTube. So, it is what it is. So I hope you guys got at least a little something out of this. If nothing else, just an understanding that, yeah, we all know it's complicated. We all know that it's frustrating, but it can work with communication and with the right support structure and the right support individuals around you. Even though it's hard to find a therapist that gets heathenry and understands heathenry, you can still work with a therapist on communication skills, because communication skills are the core of most of it, and that the essence of human to human communication is there regardless of culture and religion, although those do influence some aspects of it. The core element of getting on the common ground mentally, communicating, that's pretty globalized. So, that's the one thing I can tell you guys above all else: communicate, communicate, communicate. Get it out there. And from personal experience, guys, be honest with yourself. Okay? That whole "to thine own self be true" thing, blah, 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 blah. Now, wisdom is wisdom, regardless of its source. Guys, you need to be honest with yourselves about what you need, what is and is not a deal breaker, and respect yourself enough to stand up for what you need and what you want and what you believe. If you settle on a relationship, you're going to regret it later. So, you deserve better than that. It is what it is. So, stand up for yourself, stand up for your beliefs, and communicate. All right? Now, these can be misconstrued in so many ways. By saying stand up for your beliefs, I'm not telling you to go out and be a dick about it, okay? I'm not telling you to run roughshod over your significant other because Eric said to go forth and stand up for my belief system, and it's gonna be my way or the highway because that's my heathenry and that's the way. Stop it. It's not like that, all right? You know me, guys. I'm middle of the road on everything, and I'll sway a little bit here and there along the path, but for the most part, I'm middle of the road on stuff, and the Havamal is rife with examples of moderation in all things, and that's this way too. Yes, stand up for your beliefs, but establish what is important to you and what you value. How much do you want this person in your life? And be willing to sacrifice at least some comfort zone elements in order to make that work, because a lot of it is just that. It's comfort zone. You got to be willing to step out of that comfort zone and be willing to meet them where they're at on some stuff, because I guarantee you they're meeting you where you're at on some stuff. You may just not realize it yet. So we could go on forever on interpersonal relationships and therapy aspects and stuff like that. We're not going to go that deep into it today. Just a general, hey, yeah, it can work. And it's worth it if you do, as long as it's right and you're honest with yourself and it is what you really, truly want. Then yes, the sacrifices are worth it. And communication is the way to make that work. So, ostensibly. So, anyway, guys, appreciate you. If you've watched through this far with me rambling on about this particular subject, I appreciate it. We're going to get back to some of the woo-woo stuff, some of the more spiritual stuff. These are just some things that I had set aside while we were handling things like the rune readings and all of that have kind of built up, and I wanted to knock some out. Plus, this particular video was born from mine and Brandon's conversation, so I kind of wanted to jump on it while I could. It's a subject I may revisit later on if I have some more developed ideas on it, but we'll see. But yeah, I intend to delve more into some of the woo-woo stuff and some of the religious, spiritual side of things here in the near future. No promises as to exact content, but I've got several ideas I'm knocking around. Please, guys, jump on the Facebook group. That's Word-Weaver Productions. You'll find it down in the comment in the description below, along with all my other contact information. Hit me up with any kind of requests you may have. I love to take requests. I love to work on these videos, so let me know, and I'll do what I can for you, all right? So, without dragging this on any further, I want to say hail, thank you, and may your ancestors smile on you. Where we are now is... Pause. So it's going to take an hour to film each video, and I really want to go outside and smoke, and it's 7 o'clock already. So, but I've got to get these done. All right, so 4, 3, 2, hate when the intercom comes on. I lose my spot. It's hot in here. Like all flushed and stuff. Crap. For reals, I like totally derailed my train of thought. Fundamental disconnect. Okay. All right. Blended families. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Let's jam. Right, so here we go. Let's get this started. Not sure what we're gonna do today yet, but we'll try with it. Play with it a bit. You never know. Oh, I don't know. Let's play with the settings a little bit. See what we've got here. Right, that's it, right. Pictures set about, right, okay. Alright, fine. So we'll try this, we'll play a little bit, here we go.